It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to jump on that gigantic, sharp, interactive board. I want to share my thoughts regarding HP's first quarter for their FY2025. And folks, I got to tell you, man, it's not looking good. I mean, holy smokes, this is some big alarm bells here. You ready for this? If you look at HP's blended operating profit for their personal systems and their print business, in other words, HP's overall operating profit for the first quarter for FY2025, you got to go back 17 quarters to find a lower percentage of revenue. 17 quarters. They came in their first quarter at 7.3%. You literally have to go back to the pandemic to find a lower percentage of operating profit. And of course, HP, they're going to talk about how fantastic things are because they finally got some AI in the PCs and they're selling them. I guess the AI in the PCs is taking it's killing them on profitability, right? Okay, I'm sure you've seen the article out there. HP is going to cut 2,000 jobs. The tariffs are going to be a problem for HP, they say. We got to cut 2,000 workers. Folks, you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about the insanity of HP spending billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars buying back their own shares. And I've talked a lot about this, going as far back as 2019. I wanted to do a little math. They bought back $2.1 billion worth of their own stock in their FY 2024. So I'm thinking 2,000 people, let's get rid of them because of tariffs. But they could have kept those 2,000 people. They could have paid them $110,000 per employee for the 2,000 people, and that would have lasted 10 years. For the $2.1 billion, they rather use buying back their own shares. Just something to think about in the big scheme of things here. And at the end of the day, HP buying back their own shares, trying to drive the price up is what I'm thinking. It doesn't seem to be working that good. And at the end of the day, the biggest factor at HP that no one really wants to talk about, well, I guess other than me, is the fact that when they ended their FY 2023, it was over $10 billion down in revenue from their FY 2022. They had a little bit of a bubble. In FY 2021 and FY 2022, I told you all that, right? It was a bubble that's going to pop. And here they are. They're just distracting the marketplace with nonsense. And so I guess they're going to blame their problems on the tariffs, and the tariffs will definitely cause some problems for them. But what if they would have been investing in HP since 2019 instead of buying back billions and billions and billions of dollars of their own stock, right? It just seems they could have invested in some other things that made more sense. Let's look at the numbers. As I said, it's the worst overall operating profit as a percentage of revenue. You have to go back 17 quarters to find it worse, and that was in the fourth quarter of 2020 when it was 6.9% blended rate. It came in at 7.3% blended rate for the first quarter of FY 2024. The revenue for the printing was $4,269 million. The revenue for personal systems for the first quarter was $9,224 million. And folks, guess what? Well, personal systems. They talk about in the articles they're publishing out there how personal systems, the compute business for them, is doing really well because of the AI. I mean, we had some growth over the first quarter of FY 2024. Yeah, you sure did. You had some growth in revenue, but you declined in profit. At the end of the day, HP, I think you got to be focused more on the profitability than the revenue. Just thought I'd throw that in there. But I wanted to look at this a little bit deeper. Let's look at the printing business. Because, folks, at the end of the day, the printing business is the thing that generates most of the operating profit for HP. And without the printing business, HP is just going to fall off a cliff, right? We all know that. And they try to distract the marketplace from their printing business. But in all reality, that printing business over there is just evaporating revenue. So let's look at some real facts. For the first quarter of 2025, the revenue in the printing was $4,269 million. If you look at the quarter before the first quarter, which would have been what? The fourth quarter of FY 2024, the revenue was $4,452 million. So, ladies and gentlemen, the facts are that if you look at HP's first quarter and you compare it to the previous quarter, not the previous year, but the previous quarter, to see if they're gaining any momentum in growing their revenue. Well, folks, I got to tell you, it's down $183 million. So if you look at their fourth quarter of 2024 and you look at their first quarter of 2025, the revenue in the print business is down $183 million. If you look at the first quarter of FY 2025 and you compare it to the first quarter of FY 2024, well, it's down $106 million. There's zero momentum in the print business over there at HP. Zero momentum. And I think that's what the industry should be paying attention to. Because as that print business continues to decline, quarter after quarter, quarter after quarter, quarter after quarter, right? It's going to pay a toll on HP as a whole. The personal systems, year over year, had a $415 million gain. And they're bragging about it. Yeah, we put some AI in those PCs and we grew our revenue in personal systems. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, the profitability is down compared to where it was the first quarter of last year in the personal systems. So again, it doesn't really matter if you're going to sell a whole bunch of machines if you can't make any money doing it, right? You're supposed to make more profit too. Let's look a little bit here at some key metrics in the personal systems. So, personal systems, $415 million increase in revenue over quarter one of 2024, but they're $30 million less in operating profit. I mean, what's the sense? Like I said, you're putting all the AI in the PCs, but you're not making any money. Is that why you got to get rid of the 2,000 people? Hey, we got to get rid of more and more people because if we put the AI in the PCs, they cost more, and we can't raise the price to the end users because there's so much competition out there. You see, I think HP thought that they were going to own the AI in the PC business. They thought they were going to be the only ones in the world, and if you listen to their CEO talk about this over the last few years, you would think, oh my gosh, HP, they're going to have the AI in the PC. I'm thinking back when PCs came out, when those notebooks came out, right? I'm thinking, I wonder if they ran around, told everybody, we're going to have, cords on our notebooks so you can plug them into the wall. Just permission to show up, and it's not really working out for them, is it? From a profitability perspective. They say the total units were down 1% year over year. So total units in personal systems are down 1%. I guess the AI and the PC is not helping with that. They got commercial PC units up 6%. So the commercial PC units are up, or personal systems units are up. But folks, you got to remember, this personal systems nonsense of HP, this category of business, they just threw everything in it. Remember they bought Poly with revenues of $1.7 billion and they dumped it in personal systems so they could talk about how they're growing, right? I mean, seriously, it's got all kinds of crap in there. And they used to actually tell you how many notebooks they sold and the revenue on notebooks. And remember when I did the episode and said, hey, look on their 10 Qs here. Here's where you see how many notebooks they sold, and now they don't share that anymore because obviously they're not selling a lot of notebooks is what I'm thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the print a little bit. The print supply revenue is down 1%. I mean, it's down 1%. And they talk about introduce 2 game-changing page-wide presses for industrial customers, introduce smart tank printers to HP all-in subscription plans for customers. I'm so sick of hearing about HP subscriptions because the revenue in the supply business continues to decline. It's like, what the hell are the subscriptions doing for you over there, buddy? I don't think they're working. And of course, HP never has to tell anybody how many subscriptions they're actually selling. Oh, they'll throw out some crazy numbers like, we did 1 million. We got 1 million more subscriptions. But no one knows what the hell the revenue is of that. No one knows how many subscriptions were canceled. I mean, it's a complete shell game, right? Let's look at this. I wanted to go back to the year 2021. And just let's look at some numbers. In the year 2021, they had a birth of insanity is what I call it, because in 2021 and 2022, HP as a total company, 2021, $63.5 billion. In 2022, $63 billion. In 2023, $53 billion, right? I mean, folks, that's a 10% decline. And don't forget, they bought Poly for $1.7 billion in there. So, plus the other stuff they bought. HP, you got to be thinking, are we ever going to get back to $63 billion? I mean, I think they thought they were going to get back to $63 billion because they put AI in PCs, but I don't think it worked out for them, is it? I wanted to look at the supply business. I went back to the year 2019. Printer supply business. The printer supply business since 2019 is down $1,626 million. Down, not up. And folks, the total print business since the year 2019 through 2024 is down $3.2 billion. So that's a big number. And I've been telling you all, HP gets most of their profit from their print business, and most of that comes from their supply business. Their supply business keeps taking a hit. People are printing less. It's obvious, right? People are printing less. The machines are getting less expensive. The competition is getting brutal. And at the end of the day, sooner or later, HP is going to run into the wall with the print business. And instead of wasting all their money buying back shares, they should have invested something that could help them get past the print business. You know what they really should have done? Well, they should have merged with Xerox those many years ago. It's starting to look like that, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, without the financial details, isn't this nonsense? And I find this in their financials. They talk about all this stuff. Consumer subscriptions. I'm just done with the subscription. I think it's just a bunch of nonsense. You know, they keep talking about subscriptions when the revenues are down. They talk about industrial graphics and 3D. Growth year over year driven mainly by contributions from supplies and services related to an increase in contractual customers in the industrial print segment, but yet supplies are down. Are they up or are they down? Holy smokes. They talk about AI and a PC. Holy crap. I mean, folks, it's just comical. That's why I like to make fun of it so much. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But at the end of the day, will profit continue declining as revenues grow? That's the question I'm asking. That's my last slide. You know what? I think the folks over at HP, they really got to start thinking. Is their business model to buy back their own shares? Is their business model to keep terminating people so they can afford to buy back their own shares? Is their business model telling the whole world that they're going to have AI and PCs and hope it all works out? Is their business model telling people they got all these subscriptions on printers and these subscriptions keep growing, but yet the revenue's not? And beating revenue for the first quarter of FY 2025 against the first quarter of FY 2024 is pretty much irrelevant. And in the print business, they didn't beat the revenue. They beat it in the PC business. Unfortunately, yeah, they beat the revenue, but they didn't beat the profit. Just some things to think about, my friends, because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.